Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ways and Means. We have a hearing today where we have 12 bills. We're going to start off with a bill entitled Economic Development, Delivering Economic Competitiveness and Advancing Efforts, which is called the Decade Act. This is Senate Bill 388, and I believe Mr. Tony Bridges is here to testify on behalf of that bill. Yay, we know him. Yay. Welcome, sir.
What do I call you? Captain?
No, I think for you it would be appropriate Mr. Mentor, don't you?
Mr. Mentor.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. I was Tony Bridges' mentor. Look how good he turned out. Okay, there you go.
Good afternoon,
Welcome,
Mr.
sir.
Mentor and members of the Ways and Means Committee. For the record, Tony Bridges, mentee and Deputy Legislative Officer for Governor Wes Moore, here in support of Senate Bill 388, the Decade Act. I will not get into the Decade Act because you all already heard this. Again, it is our way of sharpening the tools that we have in our economic toolbox to make sure that we maintain, grow, and expand businesses here in the state of Maryland. I really do want to thank this committee for the work that you already done to sending this bill over to the Senate side, particularly Delegate Julie Polakovich-Carr, Mr. Bennett, and the rest of the entire committee for the work that you did to really move this bill through. There were, of course, a couple of amendments that the Senate brought over as they did their work on their side, and so I look forward to working with this committee and offer myself, as well as the staff of Commerce, for any additional questions, amendments that you have to make sure that we move this bill through. And I do appreciate everyone's efforts, and with that, I do wish for a favorable report and happy to take any questions if you have any.
We appreciate you setting the example for brevity. You've been on this side of the desk before, and thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you. It's sponsor only.
Thank you.
That concludes the testimony on Senate Bill 388. Now, the Senate is in session, so I'm going to be looking for possible staffers for senators that are in order. If they're here, they can come. The first bill that's possible is Senate Bill 704, Senator Motz. Does he have a staffer here? No, he stood up. It was a big fake out, wasn't it? Okay, we'll move along. Senate Bill 970 and 766 are both bills by Senator Zucker. Do we have a staffer? Please come forward, ma'am. Tell us who you are, too. It's good to have a name. We'll start with 970. They're in reverse numerical order, if that works for you.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Ways and Means Committee. For the record, my name is Georgie Jones, and I'm here on behalf of Senator Craig Zucker in support of Senate Bill 970. Senate Bill 970 is the cross-file to Delegate Ebersol's House Bill 1612, and we understand this committee and the Budget and Taxation Committee are continuing to work through the issue, so we look forward to continuing with that collaboration in the next few days. And with that, I'd like to request a favorable report on Senate Bill 970.
Yeah, following the template there, appreciate that. Are there any questions from the committee? This is also a sponsor-only testimony. Okay, seeing none, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 970. If you can stay at the desk, we'll do Senate Bill 766, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Ways and Means Committee. For the record, my name is Georgie Jones, and I'm pleased to testify on behalf of Senator Zucker in support of Senate Bill 766. Senate Bill 766 is the cross-file to Delegate Polakovich-Carr's House Bill 1197. Again, we understand there might be more conversations and additional amendments coming, so Senator Zucker looks forward to the committee's guidance on this one as well. With that, I request a favorable report on Senate Bill 766.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 766. The next bill, again, we'll check since it's going backwards. Is there a staff member for Senator Motz? Seeing none, we'll move on to a possible for a staff member for Senator Kagan. This is last minute, and the senators realized that we called them and asked them to send people over, so it's not like they derelict in their duties here. We're just trying to get them. Is there a staff member for Senator Simon Ayer? Okay, ma'am, thank you. We're going to do Senate Bill 262. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. Tell us who you are, and start up when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Ways and Means Committee. I am Verna Leber, presenting for Senator Brian Simon Ayer. Senate Bill 262, Teachers' Tax Breaks. is identical to Delegate Patterson's House Bill 478 that passed the House unanimously. The Senate conformed their Senate bill to the House version, and it passed the Senate unanimously. For these reasons, I respectfully ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you. Good détente. Really appreciate that. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. I think that's the only one we have from Senator Simon Ayer today.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Looking for a staff member for Senator Jennings. Okay, seeing none. Is there someone here for Senator King today? It's going to be a bit of a wait. We may end up having to sit around a little bit. Senator McCray, do we have someone in the audience for Senator McCray? Okay, seeing none. Senator Heddleman. Okay, we'll back up to, I think I did maybe already, Mods. No one. Okay, so that's our list of bills that are sponsor only, and we will have to return to them to get them heard. You see someone? Sir.
For Senator Vital, SB 557.
Sorry, you're right. That was coming to that one. That one has some witnesses, so I was waiting to get to that one. So that was the very next one. Let me try that once. How about Senate Bill 557? Sir, please approach. You have one favorable witness with you, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, you can bring them to the table as well.
Good afternoon, Chairman Wilkins, Vice Chair Feldmark, and members of the committee. My name is Zach Tipton. I am the intern for Senator Vital. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 557. It passed the Senate 45-0 with amendments. This bill is a narrow technical bill that addresses a definitional issue in Maryland's gaming law that has created unintended regulatory burdens without improving oversight or integrity. Under current law, the definition of own is broader than necessary. It treats certain passive, non-controlling minority interests the same as individuals who actually exercise control over a gaming facility or sports wagering operation. In practice, that means people with no voting rights, no managerial authority, and no ability to influence operations are nonetheless subject to the same ownership-based qualification requirements as controlling principles. That approach has practical consequences. It can require repeated qualification and disclosure for individuals who have no role in decision-making or operations, complicating renewals, financing, and compliance for otherwise well-regulated, long-standing licenses. Importantly, these requirements are imposed in situations where there is no corresponding regulatory benefit because there is no control to regulate. SB 557 provides a targeted and conservative fix. It clarifies that a non-controlling, non-voting interest of 15%, which the amendment has now changed from 25%, or less, does not constitute ownership for purposes of control and disqualification, so as long as that interest confers no voting rights and no operational authority. The 15% threshold is intentionally conservative and set well below any level commonly associated with control or governance authority. The bill also requires that the interests confer no voting rights and no authority to influence operations. The threshold functions solely as an initial screening mechanism and does not replace the Commission's qualitative assessment of actual control. What this bill does not do is just as important. It does not weaken suitability standards. It still requires background checks for everyone. It does not limit the authority of the Lottery and Gaming Control Commission to investigate, audit, or enforce compliance. All existing integrity, financial reporting, and enforcement provisions remain fully intact. This is a statutory clarification, not a policy shift. The issue addressed by this bill is one that can only be resolved through legislation rather than through regulation, because it is embedded directly in the statutory definition. SB 557 does not establish a new regulatory program, modify existing licensing structures, or expand the enforcement authority of the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Commission. It aligns the statutory definition of ownership with actual control, allowing regulatory resources to remain focused where oversight matters most.
We sort of didn't warn you we were going to do 2 minutes for bills like this.
My apologies.
So if you can just tie it up.
Yes. Yes. In short, this bill preserves Maryland's strong gaming regulatory framework while improving clarity and proportionality in how that framework is applied. We respectfully request a favorable report on SB 557.
Thank you, and sorry to do that too.
No, that's okay.
You got a lot of good points in there. Very well done. And we have Lee Maddox, is that correct?
Yes,
Ms. Maddox, you have 2 minutes.
thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee, I'm Lee Maddox on behalf of Arundel Amusements, a Maryland-based operator. In addition to being a Maryland attorney, I'm also a retired captain with Maryland State Police. We are here in support of Senate Bill 557 as amended. This bill addresses a very specific real-world issue. Our majority owner is in his mid-70s. As part of responsible estate planning, he wants to transfer a minority non-voting interest to a family member. That interest carries no voting rights, no authority over management, no board rights, no operational role. It does not and cannot confer control. But currently how the law is written, if he does that, they have to fill out this stack of paperwork with attachments. So he's having a very hard time finding a family member that actually is interested in being involved. So it's really a high bar for him to be able to do family-level succession planning with his company. The bill is amended, preserves appropriate safeguards while addressing this issue. It draws a clear line between ownership that carries control and ownership that does not. I would also note for the committee that there is a current waiver process that's contemplated in the law, but that is just contemplated for institutional players, so banks and people that really care where their money goes. It's not so much for your family business owner. It is important to be clear about what the bill does not do. It does not strip away any of the commission's authority. It does not allow anyone with influence over operations to avoid review. And any person who exercises control formally or informally remains fully subject to existing qualification and disqualification standards. And I would also say that the company is also required to notice the commission whenever any ownership occurs. For these reasons, we support as amended. I thank you very much for your time.
Perfect, safe at the plate, made it in there beautifully, thank you. Are there any, these are the favorable testimonies, are there any questions for those who have testified favorably? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. We do have one person who is going to testify unfavorably, Phil Metz, if you're here, please. And you want to bring someone to the table just to help answer questions if there are additional questions, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Ways and Means Committee. My name is Phil Metz. I'm the Director of Regulatory Licensing and Investigations with the MLGCA. With me today is John Mooney, our Managing Director of Regulatory Oversight, who is available for questions. Our written remarks have been submitted for your review. Our position is that SB 557 is at odds with regulatory industry standards and national best practices. The benchmark of 5% or more in current Maryland law is typical for gaming regulators. Ownership interest of 5% or more is a standard also used by the SEC. As part of our investigative process, we research SEC records to identify owners not previously disclosed to us. In my 15 years of experience with the agency, it has been revealed to me that the gaming industry is accustomed to these rigorous standards and readily accepts and expects these standards in our joint efforts in ensuring a fair and safe gaming environment for all. I'm proud to say the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Agency has gained an excellent reputation both nationally and internationally as a competent regulator that allied agencies and those we regulate can rely on as a trusted source and partner because we use proven standards and protocols. The example of this standard has been created in Maryland as the newly formed Japanese Gaming Commission chose us after visiting several states to personally assist them with structuring and creating their investigative regulation. Members of our agency work with Japan for over a year, including 2 weeks in person in both Maryland and Japan. SB 557 will put the state in a position of knowing very little about the background of owners that hold up to 15% of casino-related or sports wagering-related applicant or licensee. The ownership interest of an applicant or licensee could be held by multiple persons or entities who each hold about 15%, thus resulting in a large potential aggregate amount if those individuals formed a collective entity. SB 557, prior to transfer of 15% or less to the person, the applicant must submit written notice and certification that they're not disqualified and CJIS criminal history checks and fingerprints. This body established through referendum various...
If you could just give a sentence or two to summarize, please.
Yeah, I will. I'm almost
Thanks,
finished.
go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Please.
This body established through referendum very specific background protections for oversight of gaming and sports wagering operations, and we believe SB 557 weakens those protections. The higher threshold create opportunities for stealthy acquisition of ownership interests and construction of complex ownership structures to hide the identity of who actually controls or directs the license. The gaming industry is viewed by many as susceptible to nefarious or corrupt activity. It is our job to robustly regulate the industry in an attempt to minimize these suspicions and perceptions by utilizing time-proven industry standards and protocols. If the public trust is eroded, gamblers potentially won't gamble, and that would negatively impact state revenues.
Again, if you could just find a summary sentence for us.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done after this. For those reasons, we'd ask you to find
Thought I heard that
unfavorable.
before, I'm not sure.
So,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
That's okay, thank you. You did great. I see we have a question from Delegate Hartman for this. Delegate Hartman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here. So when the bill was in the Senate, did you oppose it then, or?
We presented written testimony, and my understanding was that we opposed it. I don't know if that's how it was recorded, is my understanding. I'd have to speak with our legislative liaison, but yes.
I believe
That's my understanding.
I believe she called it a letter of information.
Okay.
Right, that was my understanding. So I was just wondering what changed to create the change in the lottery's position.
Jennifer Beska.
There's a question about the stance in the Senate. Okay.
Jennifer Beska, Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Agency. We submitted a letter of information which stated everything that was stated. The bill has since been amended, and in the amendments, there was language that went after the background information and changed it from the background investigation to just fingerprints. And that's when we came in opposition.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good, Delegate Hartman, that's fine. I have a question of my own, if no one else does. Just to help us kind of get a grip on this, can you give us an example of how this changed? You did a little bit of it in your testimony, but this will pop your cork and you can talk a little bit more about it. How the proposed change could impact the gaming industry. Give me an example, if you can, please.
Yeah, and I touched on it, but I can go in a little more
Well, you
detail.
had a clock on you before, so here we go.
It's the opportunity of organizations or entities creating these stealthy acquisition of ownership interest or complex ownership structures that could possibly hide the identity. And as you raise that almost international standard of 5%, that control or that amount of ownership concerns us, especially where you could have multiple people get together. Even if it's, non-voting rights, we have a real concern that there still could be some influence. I mean, we've seen that where they may not have had voting rights, but we did find out that there was some influence or that was going on. So that's our concern. And also, from an investigative standpoint, when you're getting up to like 15%, and you're just getting fingerprints, and basically fingerprints are just checking a national database. Just because they don't have a criminal record doesn't mean that, they should be exposed to our gaming industry in Maryland. It also calls for certification that they're not disqualified. We're just not satisfied. We'd rather do our own investigation. We do a lot more. We do regulatory checks, internet searches. We look at a lot more to ensure those people are properly vetted.
Okay.
I can give one more.
Go ahead, please.
One more situation. We had an individual who was a prominent influencer on the internet. He was a 13.6% owner of a company who didn't have voting rights, or that's how they set it up. And if it was just, he didn't have a criminal record, and I'm sure they would have certified that he was not disqualified. And, without looking into that further, by doing those searches that we do and those additional investigative steps, potentially we could miss that person. And that's a lot of control in a company, 13.6%. And I think that's universally understood. That's why that 5% is such a good sweet spot. Like the SEC uses it, and they want to know about all common stock, voting and non-voting. So to change that just concerns us that that amount of control, may lead to individuals coming into the gaming industry that we're unaware of or that have not been fully vetted.
Okay, thank
Chairman,
you.
may I follow up?
Yeah, you seem to be up on the bill there, Delegate Hartman.
Your answer gave me another question. You mentioned regulatory requirements. So right now, do you waive regulatory requirements for institutional investors or?
They still have, excuse me, they still, they have to file institutional investor waiver at 5%, but individuals do not have to file.
Okay. So the institutional's at 5%, you said?
It's still 5%. All of everything we currently regulate has that 5% trigger.
So up to 5% you waive?
Up to 5%. It's 5% or more. Under that, we don't look into. I mean, we could if something comes to our attention, but not by practice. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, it has to be a question. Yeah, Delegate Wims.
Chair, I had a question, but I see the senators come in. I don't know the procedure. Can she come back up first? If not, I
Well,
can't
we
answer.
wouldn't want her right now because this is an unfavorable panel.
Oh, okay.
I was considering giving her another bite at the apple, okay? Yeah, since she's bothered to run over. Let's let this panel finish because this is an unfavorable panel. All right. Then, seeing no further questions, you're only here to answer questions. I'm sorry, sir. So we're going to go ahead and move over. Senator Bidle, if you'd just like to take a couple minutes. Your staff did a great job, so if you want to just put a couple exclamation points on things, I think we would allow that.
Thank you, Acting Chair Eversole. I appreciate it, and thank you to
That's all I ever do is act like one. Okay.
So thank you all for giving me the opportunity. I actually left the floor of the Senate, and I'm hoping that amendment didn't pass because my vote wasn't there to support my chair of energy, but I heard this was going on and needed to get here, so thank you. The purpose of this bill is to help with someone that's doing estate planning, financial planning. And he has a number of he doesn't have children, but he has a number of young nieces and nephews that he would like to have in his estate to be able to take part of this particular business. This is not a gaming business, it's not a casino, it's a bingo business. And so I don't know if we can narrow this bill to say the owner of a bingo, but we had, as one person testified, we had a letter of information, not opposition, in the Senate. The Senate made the decision to change it from 25 to 15%. But the information that I heard sitting here was that they became an opposition because it only requested fingerprints. And I'm going to read you the amendment from the bill in case you didn't see it. The amendment in the bill says that there were, let me get back to that particular, I'm going to read it exactly. I think I'm going to read it exactly. Why is it you can't find something when you're stressed?
Because you're like the rest of us.
That it would require state and national criminal history records check, including the submission of fingerprints. So it didn't take away the background check, but added a state and national criminal history records check, including the submission of fingerprints. And anything on the internet could still be checked. Nothing would stop the Lottery Commission from doing other checks on social media or whatever. But the purpose of this bill was to help in estate planning. And I didn't bring the packet with me because, like I said, we were in the Senate and you started a little early for us. But there's a packet truly about an inch thick that people have to fill out, including their driver's license number, their driving history, all kinds of personal information. And all we're trying to do is help someone with estate planning. This is not about ownership or voting rights in the business at all. So I'd appreciate your consideration and be happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. I don't know if you have any more before us, but we'd like to say, we appreciate your service in the legislature. We know you have not filed to run again, so we'll certainly miss you going forward.
Thank you.
Delegate Wims, you have a question, sir.
And thank you. That's the question I did have, and I think you've answered. I want to make sure we hear it again. This doesn't take away the background check.
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all I need to know. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you on this side today. Saw you yesterday. So if there's no additional questions, I'm going to run back to the floor of the Senate and work on energy.
Thanks again for scooting over here And if there are no further questions, that's all of our testimony.
Thank you all very
And we
much.
will end the testimony on Senate Bill 557. I see we have a senator in the room who has also run over here. Sorry, that one went a little longer than you expected, but it was important. Senator Kagan is here, and I think you're on Senate Bill 148. Am I correct, ma'am?
Indeed, we are.
Okay.
Thank you. Chair Ebersol, colleagues from District 17. For the record, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. This bill is about our 911 specialists, the courageous women and men under the headset who save lives and property every single day. We've all heard horror stories about the house literally burning down, grandma or the baby having a health issue, an assault that just happened, calling 911 and getting put on hold or having a delay. And that happens because our 911 centers, and we have 24, we have one in each county plus some municipal 911 centers, our public safety answering points are understaffed. It is really hard to recruit, train, and retain these sheroes and heroes. Every day, they listen to people who are having the worst days of their lives. They are freaking out, and the folks have to stay calm. A minimum of 20%, and I've seen numbers that are a lot higher, minimum of the 911 specialists have PTSD long after they leave the job. And even though it takes 8 to 12 months to train them so that they can be under the headset on their own, they often leave because the job is too damn hard. They're listening to people shoot themselves. They're listening to someone being battered. It's just hard. Anything we can do to lift these folks up and support them is our obligation, in my opinion. Now, we are not going to tell the counties how much to pay, although there is a very wide range in the amount that they are paid. Delegate Hartman, I'm afraid you're the award winner here in the lowest in Wicomico County, and there are others that get paid reasonably, but some make barely over minimum wage. They could be a greeter at Home Depot for that. This bill simply gives our 911 specialists, the first responders, the same kind of opportunity to have a tax credit that our other first responders are already eligible for. They have to be over 55. They have to live in state. A lot of people retire and move out of state. A lot of people can't afford to live in Maryland, and they certainly cannot, in many of our counties, can't afford to live in the counties where they work. They juggle childcare. They juggle commutes. The Senate has passed this bill unanimously twice. I am really hopeful that you all will support these people who serve our communities, who serve our constituents, who are our public safety, the backbone of our public safety personnel. I can go through numbers and data. Kelsey on your committee staff was kind enough to upload a chart, or is uploading a chart that you can find in your system that has some idea of how inexpensive this bill will be, how few people retire and are eligible. Either they can't afford to retire, or they can't, or they don't live in state. So I'll just flag, for instance, in Wicomico County, the last person who, there's been 0 retirements in the last 5 years. Worcester County, 0 retirements since 2018. If we go to larger ones, Harford County, 1 to 2 per year over the last 5 years. That came from Ross Coates, our 911 specialist, director over there. Howard County, 1 to 2 per year. We're talking about really modest numbers, colleagues. And we believe that having a little bit of respect at the end of their career in a retirement subtraction modification when they retire after the age of 55 will help with recruitment and retention for these folks. And with that, I will stop because I'm the vice chair of the committee that is doing the energy bill, and I was on the phone with council helping my chair, who's doing an amazing job. But I really wanted to be here personally. The bill is that important. I will just flag that this is the result of a 911 specialist work group, that this is a Kagan-Carrozza bill. It is similarly bipartisan. Delegate Vogel has other co-sponsors. Delegate Griffith, I think you're on the bill. So this is about as all-American bipartisan as we can do. Happy to take questions. Thank you, Mr.
Unfortunately,
Chair.
Delegate Vogel's not in his seat. We don't know where he is right now. We're looking around for him. Thank you for coming all the way over to testify, or all the way from the State House to testify. Delegate Hartman, getting your red light to work out today. Go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As Delegate Vogel aspires to be you. I have a question. Since you brought up
Yes.
Worcester and Wycomico as the lowest paid, tell me more about our staffing levels. How are you correlating that to staffing levels? I thought this was on a different issue other than pay. I thought it was for a tax issue.
It is. Thank you, Delegate Hartman. We have been working hard to collect as much data as possible because I know you guys are data-driven and you're focused on, as we all are, with affordability and with making sure that our budget is in good shape. MACO, the Maryland Association of Counties, has an annual salary study, and they survey all 24 jurisdictions, and so we thought some of that information might be helpful, because they do have 911 specialists, beginning pay, average pay, supervisor pay, and all that. And I thought you might be interested. Wycomico County, they make $21.59 per hour on average, which is really.
Well, that wasn't my question. I said, how does that correlate to staffing issues?
Oh, that correlates.
You're saying
Sorry.
they're understaffed and
Yes.
so forth, and we're paying the lowest, which is totally off kilter what the bill is.
Sorry.
So since you're bringing that up, I'm asking you questions as to how it correlates.
Thank you, Delegate, sorry. So Senator Carrozza got me information and contacted Stacey Norton, who's been great and was on the work group and all that. When people don't get paid enough, when they don't get enough benefits, they don't want to stay in a job, especially if it's hard. And so
The question is to current staffing. What is the
Current
current
staffing.
level of staffing?
that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have access to that now. If you'd like, I'm happy to call Stacey and get that
So what
information
was the
back for you.
purpose of your comment? I'm confused.
I'm sorry, I'm here as an advocate for our 911 specialists. In no way was I trying to embarrass or shout you out in any negative way. I am
Okay, we're not going
such
to go
a.
to purpose
So
of.
the point that you
Delegate
made really
Hartman,
doesn't have
Delegate Hartman,
relevance to the-
Delegate Hartman,
To the outcome of the
Delegate
staffing
Hartman.
level.
We're not going to go to purpose of someone's
No, I
question.
mean, if my counties are being called out, then I want to know the
I
purpose
understand, but your question about
of the comment.
purpose
And my
in asking
question is,
statement.
how does that comment correlate
No, that's
to the
fair.
staffing levels? if
That's
we're-
a fair question.
Okay.
And that was my original question I asked 3 times now.
I
So
got
I
that.
did respond, and thank you for clarifying. That information is not easy to get. I've been working with, as I have for 12 years now, with MDEM, the Maryland Department of Emergency Management, with the chair of the 911 board, with the director of the 911 board. A lot of this data is not easily accessible.
So the comment-
Using with them and MACO, so the chart that is now in your system has let's see, my glasses back on, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, it looks like 10 of our 24 jurisdictions we were able to get some data for, and so that's what we've shared with you. If anyone wants particular information on their county, I'm happy to follow up and share that with the chair, with the committee, or with just you.
But
And
just
so,
to
again, I
clarify,
apologize, Delegate
You
Hartman.
don't have any information as to the current staffing level?
I don't
of
have
either.
current information
Thank you.
in Wycomico County.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. Just like on the floor, we don't go to people's motivation, we just go to the information, if we can stick to that. Are there any other questions for the sponsor? Okay, seeing none, this is sponsor only. Senator Kagan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all.
That
Take care.
ends the hearing on Senate Bill 148. I understand we have someone here for Senator King. Patty Horton is here. You have 2 bills, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, nice to have you.
Thank you.
We'll start, I guess we'll go numerically. We'll start with Senate Bill 468. We do have staff stick to a 2-minute testimony on bills, if you don't mind.
Very good. Thank you, Delegate. Thank you, members of the committee. Patty Horton on behalf of Senator King. Senate Bill 468 is enabling legislation that mirrors the Maryland Child Tax Credit Program and will allow counties in the city of Baltimore to provide grants to help low-income families with children. The legislation is an exact cross-file of Delegate Balakovich-Carr's House Bill 363, which was unanimously passed by this committee. So on behalf of Senator King, I respectfully request a favorable report.
Thank you. That was well under 2 minutes. Are there any questions for the staffer for Senator King, for Patty Horton? Okay, seeing none, it's a sponsor only. That ends the testimony on Senate Bill 468. We'll move over to Senate Bill 518 with you.
Thank you again, members of the committee. Patty Horton for Senator King. Senate Bill 518 builds on a very successful program that was developed in Gaithersburg to provide primarily adults with free, hands-on, one-on-one financial counseling. The Maryland Financial Empowerment Center Network Pilot Program will be run by the Comptroller's Office, and with 11 regional offices around the state, the Comptroller's Office will be able to host coaching sessions throughout Maryland. This bill is an exact cross-file of House Bill 676, and I respectfully request, on behalf of Senator King, a favorable report on Senate Bill 518.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Are there any questions on this bill for the sponsor or the sponsor's representative? Okay, seeing none, it's sponsor only. That ends the testimony on Senate Bill 518. Okay, we're kind of back to the top of the list here. Are there staffers in the room for senators right now looking for a staffer for Senator Motz, Jennings, McCray, or Heddleman? Jennings, okay. Yeah, Jennings, you're a little farther up the list of the numbers, so won't you please come forward, ma'am? Senate Bill 309, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Acting Chair Ebersol, Vice Chair, members of the Ways and the Means Committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate Bill 309 on behalf of Senator Jennings. The bill unanimously passed the Senate, and it restores and makes permanent Maryland sales tax exemption on gold and silver purchased primarily for the investment or savings. It's a common sense, pro-consumer policy that protects small-time savers and removes an outdated and regressive tax and keeps Maryland competitive. Maryland is an outlier. 45 states, including all of our neighbors, already exempt precious metals from sales tax. These purchases are not luxury investments. They are often made in small amounts by retirees, working families, and those on fixed incomes seeking to protect their savings from inflation. Currently, bullion sold over $1,000 is tax exempt. This bill would also allow bullion purchases under $1,000 to be tax exempt. It's important to note that purchases at the Baltimore Convention Center are already tax exempt despite the amount purchased. Unlike other assets such as stocks or real estate, which are both not taxed at purchase, gold and silver are subject to both sales tax and capital gains tax, and inconsistent and unfair double taxation. Additionally, the minimal revenue generated is easily lost to out-of-state and online purchases. SB 309 restores fairness, aligns Maryland with national standards, and supports both consumers and in-state businesses. We respectively urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 309.
Thank you very much. We do have a couple of questions. I suspect the tenor will be a little different on this one. Delegate Hartman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes.
I can try to answer them.
So the bill has a fiscal note, I think, of $2 million.
Yes.
What have you found through testimony, through inquiring with bullion dealers in the state? I think there's like 170 of them, I believe. What have we found as to the accuracy of that fiscal note?
So we actually discussed that a lot in the Budget and Taxation Committee. So we gathered data from a few different local shops, and they showed significant revenue loss due to bullion purchasers going out of state to purchase their bullion and get it tax exempt. So I have a couple. Company one, January to June 2025, their sales was 1.5 million. And then July 2025 through December 2025, their sales dropped to 312,000. So the sales tax remitted over the past 6 months was $1,123. Another company, sales from July 2024 was 1.2 million. In July 2025, dropped to 645,000. And company 4 sales from January through June 25 was almost 1 million in gross sales, and the tax remitted before new sales was $161. So they're significantly going out of state to purchase so they can be tax exempt.
Right, so in those examples, they were all maybe a quarter, a third of what sales used to be.
Yes.
And then those stores, are they strictly like you come in, buy bullion, or do they have other things, whereas foot traffic could be lost or reduced, impacting sales of state income tax of, or sales tax of other items?
I know we had one constituent that shopped at Costco, and I didn't know you could buy bullion at Costco, but apparently you can.
I didn't either.
And so they lost, they got home and they realized they were charged this significant sales tax on their bullion purchase at Costco. So,
Wow.
now that is not one of my companies listed. Those are more like local bullion.
Right, but a lot of these are stores that sell other merchandise, correct? They're
Yes,
not just strictly
yes.
bullion.
And including
So-
pawn stores. Pawn
So
shops.
foot traffic went down 75, 75% in those stores, and impacting, sales of those other items as well that are taxed at 6% and always have been.
Yep.
Isn't
that
that so? There we go.
Thank you, sir.
It's amazing how that works.
Thank you, Delegate Hartman. Delegate Buckle.
And this may be unfair for you, although you're doing a fantastic job, probably better than Jennings would do. I'm just kidding. You can tell him I said that. If the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee already passed this bill, they're also the committee that prepares the budget, at least my understanding. Would it be fair to say that whatever implications fiscally would exist, either as detailed in the original fiscal note or as you've just described to us, maybe much, much less impactful because of the diminished volume of sales? Would it be fair to say that the Senate and the budget that we've already passed now already has this provision baked into it?
I am not sure.
Okay.
I can definitely
Because that's-
find, I can ask the senator that.
As a fiscal committee, we look at that and say, well, there's a note that says this, but we already passed the budget, and the Budget Committee of the Senate already said we're not counting, I guess we would say, on any sales tax revenue coming in from bullion, because that number is not baked into our revenue assumptions upon which they base the budget. That would be, knowing Senator Gazzoni, I can't imagine that he would be that intellectually.
And it was definitely discussed.
Confusing of like, I, on one hand, thought we were getting the revenue, but then on the other hand, passed a bill that said we're not going to get any of the revenue. So that was my inquiry.
And I think something I'm kind of shocked that the fiscal note was so high, because these are purchases only under $1,000. It's already sales tax exempt for over $1,000.
Yeah, I thought that
So
didn't make a lot of
to
sense.
me, it
You
seems like
have a rich
inflated.
person, you have a rich person that's going in and buying $10,000, like maybe, the bullion master. They would already be exempt, but you have a middle-class person that says, I just want to buy $250 or $100
Exactly.
to hold for whatever reason, like I'm a collector, or I'm just holding them as financial security. They paid the sales tax. So
Yep.
that does make sense. Thank you.
Is his name Hornberger, the bullion master? Just curious.
No.
Okay.
He's not the bullion master.
Just checking. Thank you. It was rhetorical in nature. Thank you. There you go. That's one kind. All right. Sorry, my fault.
It's okay.
Delegate Palakovich-Carr.
Are we sure today is not April Fool's Day?
No, I thought it was a whole month. I thought that was.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for presenting the bill. And I'm just going to preface this because, we've all been in the situation where staff come, and I'm not trying to.
Okay.
So you can feel free to say that you and the senator
Okay.
will follow up on this. There is opposition testimony from the Department of Management and Budget for today's hearing, and they point out that the bill is not just a straight reversal of what was enacted in the BRFA last year. That in fact, this is a more generous taxation treatment of bullion than what we had in place up until last year. So I would just love to get, if you're prepared to answer, feel free. Otherwise,
Okay.
the senator is welcome to come back and, share something over email with the committee about why not just straight undo what was done last year as opposed to go even further.
I don't know the answer to that. I can get you an answer for that, though. Thank you.
She gave you plenty of room to do that, and she's a kind delegate, so there you go.
I like that.
Are there any other questions for the sponsor's representative? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
That ends our testimony on, I lost which one I was on here. Yeah. 309, I crossed it off and then didn't realize I had. Thank you very much. All right, do we have representatives for Senator Mott, Senator McCray, or Senator Hedelman in the room? Who do we have?
McCray and Hedelman.
McCray and Hedelman? Okay, well, they're in order on my list as McCray first, so let's call the staff member for Senator McCray. If you'd introduce yourself, and we'll hold you to 2 minutes if you don't mind.
Hello, Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Zaire Hill, staff for Senator McCray, who sends his apologies for his absence and respectfully asks for a favorable vote on Senate Bill 607, cross-filed with Delegate Beller. House Bill 653 voted favorable in this committee. Senate Bill 607 seeks to gradually raise the eligible subtraction amount from $1,500 to $20,000 over several years, providing predictable and sustainable tax relief under the Maryland income tax for retirement. And again, we just ask for a favorable vote on this bill. And thank you so much.
Nicely done. Are there any questions for the representative of the sponsor? All right, seeing none, that ends testimony on Senate Bill 607. I gather Senate Bill 805 would be ready to go. If you want to come forward, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Corinne Wisman. I'm here on behalf of Senator Hedelman in her absence today, testifying in support of SB 805, which is going to be the cross-file of HB 1297 by Delegate Carr. Maryland student loan debt tax relief was designed to help borrowers make meaningful progress on their student loan debt, yet through no fault of their own, thousands of Marylanders are being penalized for federal loan system crises. The Department of Education is sitting on a backlog of over 800,000 income-driven repayment applications. Borrowers are falling into forced forbearance while litigation over the SAVE plan drags on, and the federal government's new repayment assistance plan is restructuring repayment in ways that mathematically is impossible for some borrowers to spend down their state tax credit within the borrowed window. Under our current law, a borrower who fails to use their tax credit within the allotted period may repay the entire amount rather than just the unused portion. So for example, if a borrower only spends $950 of a $1,000 tax credit, of a $1,000 student loan credit because they were stuck in federal forbearance, they owe the full $1,000 to the state rather than $50. In response, Senate Bill 805 fixes two issues. First, it converts the recapture rule from an all or nothing clawback to a prorated model. As a result, borrowers only repay what they did not use. So in the previous example, the borrower would only have to pay a $50 repayment instead of the $1,000. Second, the bill also gives the Maryland Higher Education Commission the authority to extend the spend down period for borrowers caught in SAVE litigation, the IDR backlog, or a public service loan forgiveness buyback delay, thereby giving them vital time to use their tax credit before losing it. The bottom line is that nobody deserves to be punished for pursuing an education, and SB 805 does not give anyone windfall, but it ensures that Maryland's tax credit program does not place additional burdens on borrowers. We respectfully urge a favorable report.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any questions for the representative of the sponsor? Okay, seeing none, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 805. We have one bill left, and we understand a staff member is on the way for Senator Motz. So if I'll just sit back and have a Coke for a second. We can just wait for them to show up.
Why was she allowed to impugn the counties and I couldn't ask her the reason for the question? We're still recording right now, so.
All right, we're gonna take control again. We are now on Senate Bill 704, and we have a representative of Senator Motz. We do keep staffers that come to 2 minutes. If you can give your testimony, please. Okay.
Yes.
Did I say Motz? Mounts. I think I knew that.
All right. My name is Spencer Rada. I'm here on behalf of Senator Mounts. I'm here for Senate Bill 704. This bill seeks to authorize the transfer of agricultural property to an LLC without being subject to a state tax if the property is to be used for farming for at least 10 years after the property owner's death. Per the comptroller's request, the bill has been amended to push the applicable date 1 year, ensuring a smooth transition with their new tax system. There is no cross-file on this bill, and SB 704 passed in the Senate unanimously. I appreciate your consideration and respectfully ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 704.
And thank you, sir. Are there any questions for the representative of the sponsor? You were going to just light up for fun. Seeing none, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 704. Thank you for coming over. This ends our hearings for today. Are there any announcements by subcommittee chairs? I'm first, I guess, right? I say. Okay, so we have 10 minutes to 2, about as close to 2 o'clock as possible. Education Subcommittee will be meeting.
Okay, revenues, we are still fluid at the moment. Just have your staff or yourselves stay close to your email and text messages. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other subcommittees? Any other announcements for the good of the order? All right, seeing none, we're adjourned.